What you say? Thursday morning coffee conversations. Coffee conversations with Greg J. We are on, I was going to say on the radio, but it is radio, online with visuals. Yeah, just having fun this morning. How y'all doing today? It is Thursday, December 17th. We are in quarantine. We are experiencing, the pandemic, and we're working from home. We're quarantined at home. We're safer at home. What's the situation wherever you are? We're still alive and kicking with the grace of God, and we're very hopeful and thankful for that. We're also just sending, vibrations of love and light your way, because we want you to be safe. We want you to be well. We want you to be balanced because, there's a lot going on. A lot of people having stress, trying to deal with the pandemic, trying to deal with, the pivots that we have had to make. Some of us, lost jobs. Some of us changed jobs. The nature and how we do our thing has changed. The whole world has changed, and it's a lot for us to bear, but it's going to be all right, y'all. It's going to be all right. Check in with us. Coffee Conversations with Greg J. Wow, what a show today. Man, it's just been a blessing and just really, really honored to be able to create new paradigms of broadcasting, reach out across the world, and folks coming in, friends of mine and acquaintances of mine and associates, coming in to share information for us, by us. That's what we're doing at beachcityradio.com, beachcityradio.com. Let's get to the headlines because, hey, we got a lot to talk about. We want to keep you informed. Just going to read a few headlines, namely, did you see this? The president of France has tested positive for the COVID-19 virus, and he was at a big worldwide conference with other world leaders and had lunch with the prime minister of Spain. And so the prime minister of Spain is now in quarantine as well. And that's really, really something. President Macron testing positive for COVID-19. Yeah. More vaccines are on the way. You're seeing it in the news. I hope the vaccines are being distributed. They're arriving at their destinations and people are taking them. This one says there's a second COVID-19 vaccine that's getting a public review ahead of the decision of the United States. This, the Moderna vaccine, is the next to the last step for the vaccine developed by Moderna and the National Institutes of Health. The panel of physicians and medical researchers are expected to endorse it, and then followed by the Food and Drug Administration's okay within hours or days. Did you see the other day, Dr. Fauci was on there giving props to a young sister? I got to get her name so we can give her props. She is a key team member in developing the COVID vaccine. And so, just really proud of her. I know we all have, doubts and suspicions about the vaccine, if it's coming. And I got to be honest with you, if I were to keep it real, I'm probably at the top of that list right there. But, we want to get the information. That's why we're reaching out. You're going to see after we're going to take a really quick brief break next week for the Christmas holiday, but we're going to continue to push information out there. We've reached out to a lot of key top-notch, medical professionals to come through on Coffee Conversations. So, so we can be informed, you don't want to just go blindly in and take a vaccine. We have history. We know what they have done in the past, but the past is the past. And, we want to really, I don't know what to do yet, want to get informed and get the proper information so we can make sound and sober decisions. Huh? All right. Enough of that stuff. Let's get down to the music here. Ladies and gentlemen, I have, been dealing with this man for years. years. It's really, really something. He is the music director and producer of one of my favorite musical outfits, The Sounds of Blackness, and they're out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. You know how they are. Ladies and gentlemen, Gary Hines. Good morning, my brother.
Good morning, my brother. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing all right. Just making it happen in this COVID environment.
Yes, sir. Great to see you, boss.
Great to see you too, Gary. It's how you handling all this stuff. I know you're hard at work. Was the family okay? And how's everything going for you in this COVID environment?
Well, yes, sir. Thankfully, by the grace of God, families are all good, such as we can be, like you say, in the midst of these traumatic and turbulent times. And Sounds of Blackness hanging on as well by the grace of God, and not only surviving, but trying to thrive in the midst of it all. And now, of course, doing a virtual version of our Night Before Christmas annual play. This is the 42nd year of it, and everything's different. But by the grace of God, we're able to do it and now present it not only here from Minneapolis, but around the world, across the country and around the world.
Yeah, the way that we have to do art now is fundamentally different, and I was really impressed with what you're doing. You mentioned it already, so let me just kind of look up. I was going to get this trailer and play it towards the end, but I think I'll just go ahead and drop it right now since that's what we're talking about. And I'm really impressed with the organization. So you're doing your holiday special basically virtually. And this Ordway Center for the Performing Arts in Minnesota. Before I go on, let me just let you know, I'm also on the board of the Arts Council for Long Beach. I'm the treasurer there. And performing arts is really at my heart. I've been exposed to quite a few things in this in this arts world, and looking across the country at how venues are embracing the arts and pivoting in this COVID environment. I was really, really impressed with what the Ordway is doing. They've got basically an entire season that they're doing live and live streamed or virtual, however you want to say it. And people can subscribe like they would do in normal times and participate. What is the Ordway Performing Center for the Arts?
The Ordway, my brother, is basically the Kennedy Center of the Midwest. Mm-hmm. It's an amazing, amazing venue. Of course, it hosts the St. Paul Chamber Orchestra as regular residents, and of course has everything from theater, traveling theater shows from Broadway, from New York, from LA, from wherever, from around the world, concerts, dance recitals, you name it. And Sounds of Blackness has been blessed to be part of the Ordway and perform at the Ordway almost since day one.
Wow, that's incredible. I was really impressed. It's really funny. You know how algorithms go when you're online and everything. And somehow the Ordway came up in my feeds prior to me becoming aware that you all were doing your show there. And I was looking at it. I actually shared it with some people at the Arts Council, saying, hey, look, this is how this organization is pivoting, and expressing their arts. And this is a really good blueprint for those of you out there who are in charge of performing arts center. Look at this as a blueprint. I'm really talking to my good friends over at the Nate Holden Performing Arts Center up there on Washington in Los Angeles. Yeah. Maybe even here in Long Beach. You got the convention center down there, and the performing arts theater there. Maybe this is a good model to follow and see what can happen. We can keep the arts alive through the virtual space. Let's see if we could get this trailer up here. Hold on one sec here as we examine technology. And there's this, let's see, share audio, Sounds of Blackness. Here we go.
See Soulful Santa, Mrs. Claus, and the Rappin' Reindeer come to life in the first ever virtual presentation of The Night Before Christmas in concert by three-time Grammy Award-winning Sounds of Blackness. This family-friendly holiday classic will be streamed in partnership with Broadway On Demand, December 19th through the 31st. Tickets are $15 and on sale now. Buy tickets at ordway.org or soundsofblackness.com. Don't miss The Night Before Christmas in concert, presented by the Ordway.
Yeah. Presented by the Ordway. That's right. Let's see here. Wow, that's incredible, Gary. You know, I know you've been hard. I know you've been hard at work creating that. Talk to us a little bit about the process that you've been going through in order to create this.
Okay, so it's going to take me a minute to do that, but I'll condense it as much as I can, Brother Greg.
Yeah.
The Sounds of Blackness have been performing The Night Before Christmas since 1978.
Wow.
So this is, I wrote the play in August of 1978, and this is the 42nd year of Sounds of Blackness performing The Night Before Christmas. This is the first time that we're going to do a concert version of the music from the show. With all the COVID protocol and restrictions, we couldn't do the full play itself. But we wanted to present the music from the show and at least some vignettes from the show so that there was an atmosphere of nostalgia to a degree, because literally a couple of generations have grown up on coming every year in the Twin Cities to either the Guthrie Theater and, of course, now the Ordway to see The Night Before Christmas, a musical fantasy. And just by way of explanation, The Night Before Christmas is based upon the poem that we know and love. Most people refer to it as "'Twas the Night Before Christmas," but the actual title is "A Visit from St. Nicholas." What a lot of people don't know is that it was written in 1822. That surprises a lot of people, and published in 1823. So it's a very old piece, a dated piece. Most of the lore that we associate now with Christmas lore comes from that poem. Santa Claus's sleigh, his costume, the 8 reindeer, the flying sleigh, Santa coming down the chimney, all come from that poem. This Methodist minister named Clement Moore wrote a poem in 1822 for his children. No intention on publishing and all kind of thing. Well, you can't contain excellence. And so next thing you know, it was being performed at church functions and around the community. And next thing you know, it proliferates and it's being performed, read, written across the country, and then now around the world from 1822. So Sounds of Blackness, The Night Before Christmas, a musical fantasy is the full title of when we do the full show, is an urban contemporary from the Black side telling of this play. We're actually of the poem, pardon me. We're very true to Clement Moore's poems. We take a little bit of a license with it. For example, in the original, it says, the children were nestled all snug in their beds while visions of sugar plums danced in their heads. Well, in our version, we say the children were nestled all snug in the beds while visions of chitlins danced in their heads. And those chitlins come to life. They're known as the Funky Chitlins. They come to life on stage. They sing and dance. And the entire play is rife with scenes like that. So what everybody will see on Broadway On Demand, December 19th through the 31st, at only $15, and you can view it as many times as you want. Your whole household, can see it for $15. Available again on Broadway On Demand, December 19th through the 31st. You're going to see a concert version of much of the music from the show, as well as a visit from some of the characters. Santa Claus's fine reindeer, Rudolph the rapping reindeer, the dancing chitlins, Santa Claus, and Mrs. Shawanda Claus.
I saw that dancing chitlins. I think you sent me a video of the dancing chitlins and the fine reindeer and all that. That was pretty incredible. It's what a great depth of creativity there, Gary. I mean, I really got to give you props on that one. And I want to tell everybody you can go to Beach City Radio, beachcityradio.com. I'm gonna put that in the chat right now so that you all can click that link. There's a whole little bio about this presentation, and there's a link to where you can purchase tickets to see this fantastic family-oriented. This is what we like, family-oriented performance. We love this stuff, For us, by us. There we go.
Yes,
Hashtag
sir.
for the culture, And
Boo-boo.
so, yeah, so you guys go ahead and get there, beachcityradio.com. It's the first one that comes up. So you won't be able to, won't have to search too far for it. It's right there. Bam, click it. You can read all about it. Links to the Ordway so you can pick up your tickets and all that. I think it debuts when? The 19th, huh?
That's right. Just the day after tomorrow, Saturday. You'll be able to see it this Saturday, the 19th of December through the 31st. View it as many times as you want, as many folks as you can safely distance and have in your household. And one of the things I'm so glad you bring that up, Brother Greg. One of the things that I'm so happy about is we released, and you'll know this, with your, radio background and all of that. Sounds of Blackness, when we were still signed to Perspective Records, Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, always shout out to Jam and Lewis.
Yeah.
We did a recording of it the night before Christmas, much of the music from it. And many of the sales, the best sales, the heaviest sales were on the East Coast and, on the West Coast, on the West Coast in LA and in the South. Well, we've never performed the show there. We've been blessed to perform it in cities other than the Twin Cities here of Minneapolis, St. Paul. We performed it in Chicago, Detroit, Philly, Baltimore, New York at the Apollo. But we've never performed it in the South or out West and, in your neck of the woods. So there are people who have heard the music of the Dancing Chitlins and the Fine Reindeer, but never seen the play or never seen the characters. Now they can at least get a glimpse of what the Fine Reindeer and the Dancing Chitlins and the singing Christmas stockings hung by the chimney with care, what they actually look like in reference to the music that they've been listening to all these years.
Wow, incredible. We're going to have to, if we come out of COVID, we got to fix that. We got to have you come out here and do the whole production.
Yes. Oh, we can't wait. We can't wait. We'll be there in a heartbeat. Believe it.
Yeah, look, I'm going to go to work on that, Gary. You know it.
I know you, my man. See? That's why when I grow up, I want to be like it. You got it like that.
Incredible.
Yes,
well, Gary, as you look across the music diaspora, if you will, what's your sense now where we are? I mean, music, Sounds of Blackness has always resonated deep in the community just for the inspiring songs that you sing. And it always speaks to us, as a community. And, let's just face it, today's generation, the new music is getting a little crazy, lyrically and whatnot. And then all of a sudden we are, brutally reminded that things have not changed. And, what's your sense of the music now? And do you talk to young artists who, may be changing their lyrical perspective in order to address the times we're facing, the social times we're facing?
The answer is absolutely yes, Brother Greg. In fact, we not only talk to them, but we work with them and we incorporate them into what Sounds of Blackness is doing, maintaining and supporting their own identity, but giving them the cultural frame of reference of our people and the ongoing struggle. And here's what we tell them, and I'll give you a couple of specific examples of who we're working with and how what the outcome has been. We tell them going back, you can even look at, we have such poignant examples. The King and Queen of Soul to start with. Aretha Franklin had, rest her soul, had Dr. Feelgood. And This Is the House That Jack Built, and All Daydreaming and Thinking of You. But she also had To Be Young, Gifted, and Black. The Godfather of Soul, my favorite artist, James Brown, had I Feel Good and You Make Me Break Out in a Cold Sweat. But he also had the song that I call the singular most important song in the history of Black people, Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud. And I tell people that because at one time, it was actually more offensive for somebody to call you Black than for somebody to call you the N-word.
So it was fighting words on the playground.
Right. So in one song, James went light years toward eradicating that. And so I give those examples to our young artists to say, have your party music. I love the line from a song called Message in Our Music by the great Gamble and Huff. And there's one great lyric in there there's several, but one of the ones, my favorite says, understand while you dance. So don't stop the party, but have the perspective, never lose sight of the fact that we're in an ongoing struggle. So we pass that on to them, but more than just preach that to them, Brother Greg, we incorporate them and bring them into the fold. So Sounds of Blackness is our last single, and thank you for your support with that, called Royalty. We incorporated students from the High School for Recording Arts, right across the river from Minneapolis, the Twin Cities here in St. Paul, to not only be a part of the record, but the video. They were also students there, were part of the engineering and recording, the video, all of the above. And then we went back to High School for Recording Arts for our current single, which brings the words of Fannie Lou Hamer to life, Sick and Tired of Being Sick and Tired. So rather than just talk to them about it, we have them be about it.
Wow, that's incredible. Now, let me ask you, we're talking about musical legacies there. Who's that over your shoulder? Is that Mahalia in that picture back there?
This picture, it is not Mahalia, but it is, I'm glad you say that. It is my beautiful mom, the late, great Doris Hines, a great, now I sometimes mistakenly say jazz singer because she's a contemporary, and I'll explain that in a minute, of Sarah Vaughan, Ella Fitzgerald. All of them hated being called jazz singers. They would correct you, and I was blessed to grow up around them and meet them and all that, so I know what I'm talking about firsthand. They would correct you in a New York minute and say, "Son, I am a singer." Okay, I sing jazz, I sing blues, I sing classical, I sing gospel, but I am a singer. But yeah, that lady you see behind you is Doris Hines.
Okay.
And she and my dad, rest his soul as well. We're natives of Yonkers, New York. Well, shout out to the East Coast there.
That's
and
right.
We moved to Minneapolis in the 60s because Minneapolis, believe it or not, here was a jazz mecca at one time. Ellington and Basie were here all the time. So Mom was booked here for 2 weeks and got held over for a year, shows selling out every night. She fell in love with the Twin Cities and moved us from Yonkers to Minneapolis. So that's how we got here. But that's who that is. And again, she regularly calls at the house would come from Nat King Cole and from Pearl Bailey and from Ella Fitzgerald and Sarah Vaughan and Maya Angelou. I remember picking up the phone. Mom, Miss Maya's on the phone. And we knew that, they were important people. We didn't know to what degree as children. So that's who you're looking at.
Wow, that's and when we begin to talk about Black music history, you're absolutely right. Minneapolis is, you got to give them props. That's one of the meccas for sure in that genre of music. I just found out that Cornbread Harris was
he's Jimmy Jam's dad.
Man, I didn't know that.
That's right. And listen, I'm so glad you brought out that specific point, Brother Greg, because here's the deal. Prince, rest his soul, my friend and brother for 40 plus years, a close, dear friend and brother. Prince, Jam and Lewis, the same with them. They did not evolve in a vacuum. Well, one of the things that I learned moving to here to Minneapolis from Yonkers, New York in the 60s was that while it was very small, there was a very vibrant and thriving Black community, and there still is here in the Twin Cities, especially on the music scene, in blues, in jazz, in gospel, in R&B. Greg, believe me when I tell you, because we used to sneak into clubs and see them, and Jam and Lewis will tell you that, there were R&B groups here in the Twin Cities in the 60s, early 70s, that rivaled any Motown group, names that you've never heard of: Showtime Part 1 and 2, Philadelphia Story, Midwest Express. There was so many, and they, just didn't get the exposure that the other groups got. And of course, the jazz scene here, the blues scene, and that's where Cornbread Harris comes in. He's a great friend. He performs to this day. Yes. And I think he's at or near 90.
90, right?
Yeah. He and my mom performed together many times, kind of thing. I was blessed to sit in with them a few times. I didn't feel worthy, believe me, with Cornbread Harris. But so, and Prince's dad was a prolific jazz musician and composer. So it's important for people to know, because people say, what's going on in Minneapolis? The Black population is so small, but there's so much, Black music that comes out of there. That's the reason why it did not happen accidentally, coincidentally. A vibrant Black music scene here, despite the size of the population of African Americans.
Wow, yes, isn't that something? It's interesting. You I went to Paisley Park because a few years ago, I can't remember which Sounds of Blackness record that was, but we were flown out there to Paisley Park for a listening session. It was cold in the mug up there, bro.
Brother, I remember that. Thank you for coming. And we have released, and one of the reasons, Prince, rest his soul, of course, he was so supportive in so many ways. We could do a whole show on that.
Mhm.
But yeah, we had released, it was one of our first independent singles that we had released. I think it was our song Reconciliation, but I'll have to double check on that.
Mhm.
And yeah, we had we hosted the release party out at Paisley, obviously with the blessings and support of Prince. Rest his soul. So it just seems still so unreal to say
Man.
that. But I remember you being there, man,
Yep.
and thank you for coming out of the LA warm to the Minnesota cold.
Man, it was cold.
Support it.
Hey, let me just tell y'all something. That trip right there, it was cold.
Yeah.
We had a ball. And that
Yes,
was
we
really
did.
cool. Yes. Now you grew up in such a rich, musical childhood and everything.
Yeah.
And so as you're coming up and you're learning your craft and everything, what caused you to found the Sounds of Blackness? Like, how did that even happen?
I'm so glad you asked once again. Oh, well, I can always count on you for great questions, brother. Let me answer your question in reverse, if I may. This next month, January of 2021, marks the 50th anniversary of the Sounds of Blackness.
What?
Yeah, 50 years. And I say that to say this. So 50 years ago, actually 50 plus, Sounds of Blackness were born out of my alma mater, McAllister College, right here in the Twin Cities in St. Paul, across the river from where I am right now, Minneapolis. That's why we call it the Twin Cities. For those of viewers that don't know that, why they call it Twin Cities? Because we're literally right next. The Mississippi divides us, but we're right across the freeway from each other.
Mm-hmm.
And McAllister is in St. Paul. Well, McAllister is a predominantly white institution of higher learning that in 1969, Brother Greg, embarked on a very ambitious program to actively recruit the students of color. And they were very successful with that. At one time on a campus of 2,000, they had almost 200 students of color, primarily African American. And one of the offshoots of that, Greg, was that the students themselves organized a number of different groups and activities. There was a political group called BLAC, the Black Liberation Affairs Committee. There was a theatrical group called Black Arts Midwest. And there was this 50-voice choir called the McAllister College Black Voices, founded by our emeritus founder, Brother Russell Knighton, a native of Beaumont, Texas. Well, fast forward to my sophomore year at McAllister in January of 71. Russell asked me to come on as director, and I was honored to do that. They were excellent back then. And I tell you, just by way of explanation, Greg, the vision the good Lord gave me when Russell asked me on, the vision God gave me with Sounds of Blackness was to do our best to be a cultural speaking voice, a musical speaking voice of and for Black America in the tradition of Duke Ellington. Now, when I give that explanation, I've said it thousands of times in interviews, that surprises a lot of people when Duke's name comes up, because we hear Duke's name and we think of jazz, as we should. But what too many people don't know, and I know that you do know, is that Duke did the music of the culture. Duke wrote and recorded and performed spirituals, which surprises way too many people, gospel, hymns, anthems, blues, jazz. He did every sound of blackness. So a lot of people ask, where does the name come from and what does it mean? It means every sound of the Black experience: hip hop, rock. Yes, rock and roll is Black music. Reggae, ragtime, jazz, gospel, spirituals. And we're serious about that title. Many times we're mislabeled as a gospel group, and that we're not offended by that. It's just not accurate or total. We're very serious about our name, Sounds of Blackness, doing not only the music of the African experience, but much of the music of the African diaspora.
We're sitting here in the studio last night doing some work. We got a lot going on coming up, and you're actually, we're still working it all out, but you actually are going to participate in one of our big projects here. But with the we're producing the Martin Luther King festivals for Inglewood and in Long Beach. We're doing
Right.
two virtual events, and you all be able to hear a lot more about that coming up. And we're trying to bring the sounds of Blackness to the festival, and prayerfully it all come together, and we're going to work it out.
Oh,
But
yeah.
we were playing the music. And you know how you have just your YouTube is just playing just a playlist, right? And it was all sounds of Blackness. And I was like, I had to stop and say, dang, this group right here is off the chain. And so many layers musically. And you're right, some you feel the rich gospel feel, but then you feel the jazz, then you feel the transcontinental, the reach back to Mother Africa. Let me ask you, have you ever we're always about building bridges of music, arts, and culture with Africa. We go 2 or 3 times a year, pre-COVID, and hopefully in 2021 we'll be able to return and join with our friends over on the continent. But do you ever interact with groups in Africa to, musically collaborate? And would you like to?
Yes, and yes to all 3 questions. I'm listening to every word, brother. So, and let me briefly elaborate on that.
Mm-hmm.
After years, Brother Greg, of Sounds of Blackness singing about the motherland, Africa, we were finally under the auspices of someone close and near and dear to you, the great Stevie Wonder.
All right.
Speaking of our KJLH connection,
yeah,
we under Stevie's auspices, we were in the mid-90s able to finally, after singing about Africa forever, blessed to go to Ghana, to Cape Coast and Accra, to perform at PANAFest, the Pan-African Music Festival, with him. And we did a set on our own as well. We were there for almost a week. It was a life-changing, groundbreaking experience. And I'll slightly digress for a second and just encourage everyone that is under the sound of my voice, as they say in church, or that is watching this program, make it part of your life's ambition to make at least one sojourn to the motherland. As Richard Pryor told us many years ago, you'll never be the same.
Yeah.
So yes, and we're in touch in South Africa with the Christian Explainers, with a number of groups there. Of course, we've been blessed to grace the stage with Lady Smith, Black Mambazo, and so all those connections are there and more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. The music is rich. We have a podcast here, Afro Pop Radio, where we deal with the contemporary, music sound of Africa. We travel all over Africa in that show. We go, you'll hear the hot sound now of Afro beats, which is the popular sound that the young folks are listening to. But we also examine jazz, house music, just wherever up in Mali. Mali is an interesting country that we don't hear a lot about, but it is, French speaking. It was colonized by the French and everything. And I was watching the documentary. One of my favorite artists up there, well, there's a couple of them, but Fatoumata Diarra. She is a guitarist, but she sings in her native Wassoulou tongue. And so this is a documentary about a tour she was doing in Mali, because she had been out of the country for a long time, and then she came back home to perform in her own nation. And she got with Toumani Diabaté, who plays that big thing that's called a kora.
The kora.
Right. And so when you are a kora player, you are also what we know good and well about the griots, the storytellers. And so that family, the Diabate family, goes back more than 70 generations of kora players and griots. Right.
Wow.
And so
my God.
So in this documentary, he's talking about his instrument, and then there's a little tiny thing that looks like a guitar. I can't recall what the name of it, but it looks like a guitar, but it's got like 4 strings on it, and the box is square, right? And he's talking about it, and then he looks in the camera. He says, "Yeah, the Americans think they invented the blues, but the blues comes from Mali." And then he plays a riff, and you're like, "Holy moly, that's the blues!"
That's right. We teach all the time when I do workshops, or sometimes it comes up in interviews as well, that of course what we think of as the blues and the foundation really for the core of African American music, the family of African American music, is based first of all clearly from the motherland, and starting in terms of what you just addressed starting with the 5-tone pentatonic scale. So a lot of what we call a blues scale is the pentatonic scale, the relative minor and all that, not to get all deep musically kind of thing. But I'm sure a lot of the listeners are following what I'm saying. And also, there is no, I tell my youngest brothers and sisters, there is no hip hop, pop, R&B, soul, whatever, jazz, without the motherland, because we're looking at the polyrhythms and syncopation and blue tonalities of West Africa primarily, but not exclusively. That are the foundation of our music, even 4 centuries removed from the continent.
Yeah, man, that's I mean, it's really interesting how spiritually, when we were taken from the motherland, certain things traveled with us. Just think about it, you all. The music, no, they weren't written down, and the instructions weren't written down and brought over here on the ship. It was still in the spirit. And here we are, after our names were taken away, our beings were taken away. Even still, we have survived slavery, we have survived Jim Crow, lynchings, everything like that. And still, yet the essence of the music that originated in the motherland still lives today.
You better preach, brother. That's right. I put it this way, my brother. You can take the African out of Africa, but you can't take the Africa out of the African. And so humans, spirit, and that African third eye wisdom kind of thing, that mentality, it just survived even the transatlantic slave trade, the most barbaric form of slavery in the history of humanity, with ramifications even till today, as we know. Going up to Brother George Floyd and Breonna Taylor being lynched. But yes, the music, our survival mechanism. And for those that don't know, music for African people has never just been about art or been presented on a stage. Music is life for us. It has been, and that goes back eons, if we're going to really go to it, to the motherland.
Yeah, that's really, really something. Somebody out there might be saying, well, Greg and Gary, maybe that's true in music. Let me tell y'all a little story. So one of my trips to Africa, I was a guest in the Kingdom of the Zulus, right? And on that particular trip, I didn't have a tour group, but we rented a car and I hired a driver because I was trying to do some business over there. And a friend of mine was arranging all these meetings. So I rented a car and I wanted to drive. I had my driver, but I wanted to drive, so I'm driving all in Africa. And so we stopped in this town and there was a, the market is, the women are just right there on the side of the road and they're selling the beans and everything. So I'm out there, I'm walking around the market and I see the sister and she's got a big old burlap bag and I'm looking, I said, oh, those are greens. And she goes, oh, you're an American. I said, yeah. I said, well, those are greens, She says, oh, you have greens in America? And I was like, yeah. And then we started talking about, when we eat them, how do we eat them? I told her, hey, every family dinner, holiday,
Right.
And she was really amazed. But then we got down to how do you cook those greens? Do you know it was that with a few nuances, it was pretty much the same.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
not even surprised, brother.
Yeah. It was
that's so amazing, and well, like we say, you can take the African out of Africa, but you can't take the Africa out of the African. And so that's true in so many ways. And you asked, it brought to mind something else when you asked about our interaction with African artists. One of my greatest influences, right behind or alongside, doesn't have to be behind, alongside Duke Ellington, was the late, great Nigerian master drummer, Babatunde Olatunji.
Oh, yes.
And check this out, Greg. He came to Minneapolis, actually, on the regular, as I think about it, because my first encounter with him, I was a junior high school student at Bryan Junior High School, which is now Sabathani Community Center, by the way, just where Sounds of Blackness rehearsed, and just 5 blocks from where George Floyd was murdered, right in the heart of the Black community. There's so many ironies. I don't want to digress too much. But Babatunde came to Bryan Junior High School and did a performance, and we were knocked out. And he was going right down the street an hour from that performance, a few blocks to the high school, Minneapolis Central, where Prince went and where I also went, Minneapolis Central. Shout out to Central High School. And we asked our teachers for permission to go see him again, and they said no. And we said, you know what, we going anyway. So your brother's always been a revolutionary kind of thing.
Yes, sir. Yes,
But
yes.
anyway, my point with that, Greg, is now check this out. Fast forward, what, 30, 25, 30 years later, here we are on the shores of Cape Coast at Panafest, leaving the Elmina slave castles, you know, and just traumatized kind of thing. And we're walking to our bus, we being Sounds of Blackness. Who do we literally bump into but Babatunde Olatunji? And check this
Oh,
out. He remembered me, my name. He remembered the school. I'm talking 25, 30 years ago. He remembered all of that. The teachers that wouldn't let us out, he, you know,
wow.
finally went and reconciled that for us. He had us all make a circle and did a prayer of reconciliation and reconnection. As you know, in Ghana, oftentimes we are referred to as African Americans, referred to from their perspective as the lost children, you know,
Yes,
lost to the
yes,
sea. And
yes.
so he reconnected us, and so we were blessed to be under his tutelage as well. So just so many direct connections to the motherland.
Wow. Oh
Yeah,
man, that's incredible.
yes, life changing, brother.
Life changing.
Yeah.
Well, we're talking a lot about Minneapolis, and you and I haven't had a chance to really chop it up about this, but share with the people, man, when you saw what happened with George Floyd, what describe your feeling and what you have seen thus far this year, 2020, in Minneapolis.
Well, my brother, the words of the late great James Baldwin
Mm.
came to mind when I heard about Brother Floyd, and one of the Brother Baldwin said, as you know, countless prolific things. But his words came to mind when I heard about Brother Floyd, and when James Baldwin said, uh, to be black and even relatively conscious in America is to be in a state of constant rage. And so, in a word, brother, I was in a rage. Hearing about, literally, physically, body shaking. I remember, I know you know the scene from the Malcolm X movie where when Malcolm heard about the four little girls being bombed in Birmingham, that his muscles seized up his body. He was just so tense, outraged. And here this was right in the heart of our community, and it was reminiscent of something that's gone on in one form or another for 400 years. So that's why I frequently refer to it as the lynching of Brother George Floyd and Sister Breonna Taylor and so many others. And I'll fast forward to say this. It happened on a Monday, and the first protests were on Tuesday, the very next night, in South, right where I described in South Minneapolis there, at the site of his lynching. And there were like 10, the news media played it down. There were tens of thousands of people there, and at black, white, young, old, men, women, you name it. And I'll never forget this young teenage white young lady came up to me. She was proudly holding her Black Lives Matter sign and protesting, and she recognized me from the group. I didn't know her. She came up and she said, "Hey, Mr. Sounds of Blackness." She said, you guys are one of my favorite groups." She said, "And I bet you guys are going to do a song about this." She said, "But please do me a favor. Don't make it a happy song." And I said, "You know what, young lady? I appreciate how prolific that is. And I promise you that's not going to happen. So if you'll grant me one more minute, the words right after that conversation, the words of the late great Fannie Lou Hamer, the good Lord just sent those words right to me. They just over and over, sick and tired of being sick and tired. It was almost like I could hear Fannie Lou's voice saying that. So the good Lord sent the music, and we went right in, took Sounds of Blackness in and taught it to him, and recorded Sick and Tired as an anthem for the movement. And check this out. At talk about state of the union. Thank God, people like our brother Skip Dillard in New York and a few other DJs around the country, supported the record. And I'm not even talking about from the standard professional support the single kind of thing. I mean, just in terms of the movement, so people could hear it and be encouraged and know that what we were experiencing in Minneapolis. But a majority of so-called black stations told us that they were looking for something more like optimistic from us, and that they were afraid of offending their sponsors and listeners. Now, check that out. afraid
Huh?
black radio being afraid of offending people with the words of Fannie Lou Hamer, but not many of them being afraid of offending people with wet ass pussy. Excuse me.
For
Okay,
sure.
so
No,
it's
real
like,
talk.
you know, what does that say about our mentality?
Okay, so like what you just said is really, really powerful and spot on, because the number one record of the summer was that Cardi B record, right?
And
then
love to Cardi B.
right.
Yeah.
And but so okay, so that probably, this is a whole nother show, and I'm just coming from
Yeah.
a black radio veteran.
Right. Yes, you are.
We begin to now, these are when black ownership goes away. I mean, we can have that industry conversation in another time, you all. But when black ownership, a lot of the black stations used to be black owned, have been sold to major corporations. And while they still might be playing black music, still might have black personalities and all of that, they're still owned by these major, white-owned corporations. And what you're talking about right there is where if they were 100% black-owned, the consciousness would be there to make a more informed decision on what to play. And that's what I say. We put the chat in the chat, you all. We put the link to see that. Sick and Tired on YouTube. You can watch the video there. I want to play it here, but I don't want Facebook to be like muting my that's what they tend to do. We might give it a shot at the end, but sometimes Facebook be tripping, man.
Yes, they do. Fortunately, they haven't yet on Sick and Tired.
Okay.
We appreciate that support and love, brother. But Sick and Tired and the video, I'm glad you mentioned that, like you say, on YouTube. As we digress to Sick and Tired, we just want to encourage everyone that's seeing your wonderful show here to go to Sounds of Blackness website, soundsofblackness.org, soundsofblackness.org. Mm-hmm. And if you choose to, and we hope you do, purchase a copy of the single of Sick and Tired. And a lot of people ask about the T-shirt, the Sick and Tired T-shirt. Merchandise is available there. And I say that to say this, not just as a cheap promo plug, but Sounds of Blackness are donating a portion of the proceeds from those sales to the George Floyd Scholarship Foundation. So you'll be directly contributing to that. Oh, yeah, we're serious. No, we don't just talk about it, Greg. We always want to be about it as Sounds of Blackness.
That's right. And I think George Floyd's daughter is today or sometime this week is her 7th birthday.
Yes. Just very recently we saw her on the news and send love to her beautiful self, strong self.
Mm-hmm. That's a beautiful, beautiful thing. Yeah, Sick and Tired. Wow, I'm still reeling for what you just said there. I mean, it's a fantastic song. We will. I think I will just go ahead and play it at the end there, and let's just get it cracking. Let's
thank you, really. And you know what? The thing about it. Thank you for that compliment about the song, but that brought this thought to mind. And again, being a radio vet yourself and with artists and all that kind of thing, it's one thing you present a single and, you pitch it to radio and that kind of thing. And they say, we got love for your group, but we're not quite feeling the song. And, it's disappointing, but, what happens, you deal with it. Mm-hmm. That's not what happened with this one. What we heard was, man, we love the track. It's banging and the message is right on. But we're afraid of offending people or sponsors kind of thing. So it's like, so you're feeling the track, but still can't play it. And like you said, that ownership thing comes to mind. So that just added to almost added insult to injury.
Well, I'm going to tell you something that what we're doing now over here at Beach City Radio, beachcityradio.com, we're changing broadcast paradigms just from a technology standpoint. But when you go on to listen to our music stream, you'll hear songs like Sick and Tired. We also have a mix with Fannie Lou Hamer is testifying. The song is actually Black Coffee out of South Africa. He's like the top house DJ. This dude he's like doing Coachella. If you're into the whole house music thing and you say Black Coffee, he's like one of the top DJs, but he comes out of South Africa. But he did a collaboration with Hugh Masekela, and the song is called We Are One. and they're actually saying, Africa, wake up. And, the time is now. We have to, stand up for injustice that's happening in this world. So that's the song. But the music track, we took the liberty of taking Fannie Lou Hamer's testimony at the U.S. Senate, where she's talking about how they were beaten, arrested, just trying to register to vote. And when you listen to the words of this woman, I think she is probably one of the most underrated civil rights icons, like in the whole gamut. She is really, really something. She talks about how she went down to the to register to vote, and down there in Mississippi, they had the sharecroppers and everything. So when she got back, the owner of the land was ready to kick her off and everything, and she got arrested and beaten and everything. I mean, all of that is in there, and so we are. I just say all that to say we are unapologetic in our voice for the movement, and because it is what's happening now, and we are sick and tired of being sick and tired. We're not trying to make anybody mad, but it is what it is. That's why even at the corporate level, y'all having these diversity, equity, and inclusion conferences and all that whole thing, and so something's wrong. So listen to the voices of history.
Yes, you're so right about Fannie Lou Hamer. Beaten, jailed, arrested, sexually assaulted, police, Klan. Much of her voter registration work, as I know Brother Greg, but for the benefit of the viewers here and listeners, was on foot, backwoods Mississippi, backwoods, dark, forget street lamps and all that. But when you look at her pictures, you see no fear in her eyes. Just a queen. And people ask that don't know, well, why was she speaking at the 64 Democratic National Convention? She was the head of the Freedom Democratic Party that she had founded. So you talk about being about it. So Fannie Lou Hamer is one of our queens. And listen, we were blessed. We are in touch with her estate. She has one remaining, surviving, I should say, relative with the Hamer estate. So shout out to Cookie Hamer. We talked on the phone, a few times, at length kind of thing, and some of her representatives we've never met in person. But shout out to Cookie Hamer, and they gave their blessing, on Sick and Tired, so that it wasn't a thing where we were just using her image and her expression, without their blessing, without their permission. So, and I know they would also give their blessing, to this project kind of thing. So Cookie Hamer, and the Hamer estate are there, and they're just a beautiful, sweet sister, just maintaining the legacy of Fannie Lou.
Man, and you know what? I would love to see her face if she was able to see when Barack Obama was elected president. And especially now that Kamala Harris is the vice president, I would love to see her face.
Me too, brother. I got so mad. Some people back when Barack was elected, that election night kind of thing, and they said he was over the top. And the camera, I know you remember the scene. They showed Jesse Jackson, and tears streaming like a newborn. And some people, you made light of that. It's like, do you know what that represent? What those tears represent? And Jesse himself ran, for president. I mean, just so yes. Imagine Fannie Lou's face.
Mm-hmm. Well, I cried. I ain't no shame in my game because when I was coming up, my dad and everybody said they'll never elect a black president.
Never be a black president. Hey, brother, when we was growing up, and I was telling my nieces and nephews this, not only no thoughts of any black president or even the prospect of don't even think about it. We were still running to our parents when somebody black was on TV. Ooh, right. Mom, look at somebody, much less president.
Right.
So you know how I feel you, baby.
Yes, that's for sure. Man. Wow. All right, so Gary, let me ask you, what you listening to right now? What's in your digital device?
Definitely our brother and friend who we've been blessed, speaking of artists that we collaborate with and have worked with on a number of occasions now, Brother Common. Talking about somebody who's contemporary, but that's about it, okay? About the people, about the struggle, all and consistent and from the heart. He walks the talk. He sometimes, like when Brother George or Sister Brianna type of incidents, tragedies happen. some of the so-called artists and celebrities will kind of come on, jump on the bandwagon, but that's not really what they're about. Their heart ain't really in it, and you can tell that by their music, and that they're just kind of Johnny or Joni come lately. Not common. I mean, he's always about it. Even in the midst of his street and party music, is always consciousness and about the struggle. So he would be at or near the top of my list.
Yeah, he's a man, incredible artist. There's a song that I'm looking for. I heard it. He's rapping about going through the airport and getting stopped just because he's black. And I heard it once and I said, oh, I got to get that record and put it in our playlist, and I can't find it. So if anybody out there is a Common fan and you know the song I'm talking about, hit me up there.
And he literally, I think just this week, dropped a new CD. And forgive me, I'm not remembering the title of it, but I'm pretty sure it was just this week or within the past several days. Common's just released a new project. So shout out to him again.
All right. That's what's up. That's what's up. All right. So listen, everybody, we're talking to Gary Hines. He is the music director and producer of Sounds of Blackness, and my good friend. And, you know, I mean, we are really putting our heads together in the back office and go make some things happen here.
Yes,
and that you all are going to hear about. First and foremost, I'm going to go ahead and say this. So here at the Hannibal Media Group Dream Creator Studio, Beach City Radio, beachcityradio.com. We are blessed, you know, to produce on behalf of the city of Inglewood their Martin Luther King Festival. As you may or may not know, I've produced that festival for many, many years out on the parking lot of the Forum, and then we moved it on to Market Street on, you know, right there in downtown Inglewood. 2 stages, lots of booths, a parade, an ecumenical service. But, you know, COVID-19 has got us all, you know, canceled, but still the dream of Dr. King still lives. And so we're pivoting and we're taking that thing digital. Since I left KJLH, you know, we're all about the digital platforms. Everything that we do is about digital platforms, our radio, our podcast, everything. And so goes in that same category, our events. And so we are doing the official City of Inglewood Martin Luther King Festival is called Kingfest 2021. It'll be on your favorite digital device. And one of our featured guests will be the Sounds of Blackness.
Yes, sir. We can't wait. We can't wait.
I love it.
Honored and excited, brother.
Thank you. It's really, really cool. And, you know, I want to keep Gary close because you know, in this vision of changing paradigms of how we consume our media, you all, I just want to do a full-on like concert, Sounds of Blackness. You know what I'm saying? And that we just, you know, we're just trying to figure it all out, man. It's new. Right. It's a new paradigm for those of us who are broadcasters and those of us who are artists. And, you know, we're just trying to figure it all out. How do we do it? You know, how do we do it and preserve the audio quality? How do we do it so that the proper resources are in place, you know, and it's just really, really something. Just think about it, people. COVID's got us all canceled, safer at home, they say, and just think about all the artists who are not working. You know what I mean? Right. And you know, this is their craft, and now these artists have to pivot. If you all know, all of us in LA, we love our festivals, right? This week, I don't think it was widely promoted in the news, but this week on Capitol Hill, the big concert promoters were up there testifying, and they were saying that if they don't receive, you know, relief by February of 2021, it's going to be over for them. You see, and so what this does for the artists, it changes the paradigms. That's why Gary, linking up with the Ordway, and I think all of your higher arts facilities need to step in and pivot and try to figure this thing out so that excellent groups like the Sounds of Blackness can still, you know, advance their craft. Those of us who are independent, like us here at Hannibal Media Group Dream Creator Studio, we've got to pivot too and create opportunities for our artists to come and share their craft with us. You know, we can't stop, won't stop, and that's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
So Gary, let me say, let's see. We're about to end this here conversation. Tell them a little bit more about the holiday event starts on December 19th. Talk to them about it.
Yes. The first virtual presentation, the 42nd annual from the Grammy Award winning Sounds of Blackness. The title is The Night Before Christmas, and this is a concert version of it available around the world starting this Saturday, December 19th through December 31st, Broadway on demand. You can't beat it with a stick. It's an amazing presentation, family friendly. So everybody from grandma, grandpa down to the shorties, all that kind of thing can see the show for $15, per screen as many times as you want during that period, and it's something for everyone. I guarantee you've never seen anything quite like The Night Before Christmas, a musical fantasy, even this concert version. And tickets are available right at our website, soundsofblackness.org. And we make it as easy for everybody as we possibly can.
All right, y'all. Check that all out in the chat. You can see the link to soundsofblackness.org. You can see the link to beachcityradio.com, which gives you a full-on bio of the show. And you can hear you can see the trailer, and there's a link that takes you right to the ticket purchase place. And there's also the video for the single there, Sick and Tired. So that's what's up. Hey, all things Sounds of Blackness on Beach City Radio, beachcityradio.com.
Thank you for the love.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Man, what a week this has been, you guys. We've had some great times on Coffee Conversations with Greg J. I think we're going to do one, maybe two shows on next week and then just kind of take a break, for the holidays. Y'all be safe on that one. We're going to take a short break. And then we're going to come right back with information and inspiration on Coffee Conversations with Greg J. Plus, we've just got a lot to talk about. We're going to be doing the Kingfest 2021 in the city of Inglewood with Sounds of Blackness, and even more announcements coming out. Oh, man, I can't wait to let you know who else is going to be a part of it. And then we're also doing in the beautiful city of Long Beach, Dream Creator Studio, in collaboration with Leadership Long Beach, with the Long Beach MLK Virtual Day of Service, Arts, and Culture. That's coming to your digital device near you. We're doing it. All things Dr. King. That's what's up. Oh, we're also going to observe Kwanzaa, examine Kwanzaa in all of this. We're trying to come on, Dr. Karenga, get with us, and so that we could, chit chat about that. Look, right before we go, look, this is Patrice, my good friend. She went to Africa with me, and she remembers Black Coffee, South African Music Festival. Thanks, Greg. Yeah, we traveled over there. We had a great time together. And then I see Lena Cole. She's reinforcing what you said, Gary. You can take the African out of Africa, but you can never take Africa out of the African.
That's what's up.
All right. All right, y'all. Remember, love one another. Love one another. Love one another. Peace and blessings.